What's up, everybody? I want to tell you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's one of the easiest ways to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting Anchor on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. So download Anchor, the app, or go to anchor.fm to get started. And I'm a veteran, so let's hear some more military cadences. What's up, family? Here we are, finding ourselves again together. So, Warnock won Georgia. So, the Democrats are happy about that. I don't know really what's going to happen the next couple of years because the Republicans still control the House. So, don't really know, how that or what that has to do with anything. I did report that Kirstie Alley passed away. A lot of people were talking about how, Scientology believes that, that you won't get cancer, and because she was a Scientologist, a lot of people were saying that her religion did not come through. She did pass away of colon cancer, and if you are wondering she was so young, so they did list the early signs of colon cancer to get those checked. Which, let's see if they are showing it. So 90% of colon cancer patients are 50 or older, so that everyone should be getting their colonoscopy every 10 years. I need to get one myself. Early signs of the disease can include rectal bleeding or changes in bowel movements such as constipation or diarrhea. Patients with more advanced illness may also experience abdominal pain, fatigue, anemia, weight loss, or decreased appetite. So those are some of the signs to look for in that. A former U.S. Customs boarding agent accused of kidnapping and repeatedly sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl in Arizona was caught on police video saying what appears to be a threat against his accuser. Well, he's dumb. Minnesota regulators have sued a marijuana edible company alleging it was selling products 50 times more powerful than what the state permits. Whoa. Those were some good customers. Who snitched on them, number one. Let's see what else. Fellow officer says Aaron D. did not mention gun of shame. So this case is about the police officer and partner of Fort Worth, Texas, officer in trial for murder of 2019 of Tatiana Jefferson testified Tuesday. So this was a girl that got killed that was playing video games with her nephew, and the police had the wrong house. So police officer testified Tuesday that Aaron Dean said he saw someone with a firearm that night. He shot and killed Jefferson in her home. Officer Carol Darsh and Dean had been responding to a call at Jefferson's home when Dean, who is white, fatally shot Jefferson, a 28-year-old black woman who was playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew. During questioning, the prosecutor Darsh testified that Dean never said the word gun or that he saw someone with a firearm before he shot her or after they went inside. So his partner is pretty much not agreeing with what he stated, so he might actually have to do some time because his own partner is not corroborating his story. Women who attended the FBI's training program were dismissed at higher rates than men, received harsher evaluations, and faced sexist remarks by instructors, according to Department of Justice Inspector General report. What else is going on? A self-proclaimed prophet and polygamous leader in Arizona had more than 20 wives, including minors, and said it was the Heavenly Father's will. He participated in sex acts with them, according to the FBI affidavit. His name was Samuel Rappley Bateman of Colorado City, Arizona, said it was the will of God to encourage his followers, including the minor children, to engage in sex acts, according to the affidavit filed Friday in Eastern Washington. Bateman was the leader of the branch of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The affidavit was filed one day after authorities tracked down 8 girls who had been under Bateman's care but were placed in state custody in Arizona to an Airbnb in Washington state. The girls had escaped from their group homes in Arizona, the affidavit said. On September 14, 9 girls were taken into custody with the Arizona Department of Child Services. None of them disclosed actual sexual abuse by Bateman, but at least one admitted to being present and partially nude for sex orgies. 8 of the 9 girls on November 27 ran away from group homes where they were in state custody. On Thursday, a sergeant with Spokane County Sheriff spotted a vehicle driven by one of Bateman's wives in which all 8 of the missing girls were passengers. The affidavit named Bateman's wife as a defendant on the ongoing criminal case for kidnapping and obstruction. Bateman has not been charged with sex crimes, although the affidavit said there is probable cause he participated in sexual activity with minors who were transported between Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and Nebraska in 2020 and 2021. Lawyers for Bateman could not immediately be reached. A defendant named in the affidavit became one of Bateman's wives when she was under 18. She gave birth 7 months after she turned 18. The affidavit says she's accused of kidnapping and obstruction with 2 other women. In 2019, Bateman began to proclaim he was a prophet, translated from Warren Jeffs, who Bateman and his followers referred to as Uncle Warren. In 2019, Bateman was married to one woman and had a daughter who had been born in 2005. The woman left Bateman, and that's when he began accumulating wives. Some of the information provided to the FBI agent in the affidavit came from 2 people: a woman who Bateman believed was trying to help members of his group, and her husband, who was filming the documentary. In 2020, Bateman drove the couple's home in Colorado City in a large SUV packed with women and girls. Bateman introduced everyone as his wives. The youngest of the girl was born in 2011. According to the affidavit, a minor related to Bateman was interviewed on video in December 2020. According to the affidavit, a review of the video determined Bateman asked a minor if she prayed about who she was going to marry. The girl responded she hadn't because she was too young. Bateman then told her in the affidavit he felt like she was his wife. The girl also told investigators that Bateman hugged and kissed her, and one of the kisses was a nasty kiss she described as slobbery. The affidavit said investigators had also secured other evidence in the form of journals from Bateman's wives. I've reviewed a number of the journals seized in the warrants, and details reference several of the girls about sleeping with Bateman, kissing him, and touching him. Bateman was 46 in September when he was arrested following a separate indictment on charges. The indictment alleged, this goes on, but I just don't understand how people use their religion to get away with these crimes. It will never make sense to me. It'll never make sense to me, but somehow I got it. Cosby has accumulated some new accusers. 5 women, including 2 actors who appeared on The Cosby Show, have filed a lawsuit against him. The plaintiffs are named the actor Kaufman Astoria Studios. The Carsey Warner filed a 34-page lawsuit. All defendants are culpable and liable because they knew and or should have known that Cosby was sexually abusing, assaulting, and or battering women, including on their premises, but did nothing to stop it. NBC News does not typically identify victims of sexual assault, but the 5 women in the civil action all call themselves a complainant. Actor Lily Bernard, Eden Turrell, Jewel Gittins, model Jennifer Thompson, and Sandra Ladd. A platonic friend said the actor drugged her. So Cinder said he drugged her in 1969 and allegedly raped her. Jennifer said that he grabbed her hand and forcefully placed it on his penis and made the victim masturbate him without her consent. Jewel Giddens said that Cosby invited her to his home where she was given a tainted glass of wine. She says she felt sluggish. Cosby allegedly sexually assaulted her with his finger and ejaculated from the sexual encounter. Eden Twirl says that Cosby and producers pressured her numerous times to have lunch with him. When she relented, Cosby touched her breast without her consent, forcefully pressed his penis into her back. And Lily Bernard, who appeared in Cosby episodes, said that he allegedly drugged and raped her in 1990. So his spokesman called this civil action frivolous and accused the plaintiffs of seeking a payoff. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, shoot, Cosby, we all know what he did and his charges, but he has paid and he'll probably have to pay some more. What else is going on here? So Trump got found guilty of all charges by a jury in a 15-year tax fraud scheme, but his organization is who will face the time. You know, he still remains untouchable. What else is going on? Besides, the Supreme Court is likely to rule that Biden's student loan plan is illegal, so there dashes your hope of student loan repayments. And the state of Maryland banned the use of TikTok and other Chinese Russian products by state agencies, citing reported by NBC News about hackers linked to Chinese government stealing millions of COVID benefits from the state government. So TikTok banned in Maryland. I wonder if that's going to, go downstream. Walmart CEO says prices for toys and sporting goods are coming down. Shocking. I'm so out of the toys phase. It doesn't even matter anymore. Yeah. Other than that, guys, we're going to get into some stories. It's a lot of news, but, I pick and choose all the news. Let's go over to our stories because we got a few of them. First, we'll talk about how Dennis Rodman says he broke his penis 3 times.
Your dick like 3 times.
3 times. Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yep, that's the truth. The hospital term, if you pull your pants down, he said, "Oh, I know what that is." He said, I said, "What is?" He said, "You got a contusion of your cock." I said, "Contusion?" I said, "What the fuck is a contusion?"
Wait a second. Of what?
A contusion? I said, "Contusion? What the fuck is that?"
Of your cock. Yeah. This is education for all men out there that have had contusions.
That's what I'm saying.
No need to feel confused anymore because there was a contusion on your cock. Right?
True story.
This is breaking news right here on Cold as Balls. And by breaking, I do mean literally breaking news.
So there you go. Conclusion of cocks is a thing.
A lot of y'all tagged me in this video, so let's talk about it.
We have to deal with the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the
Pastor,
room.
I'm just be honest with you. Look, I'm not finna come up here and give y'all all my money that I make every month. I'm just sorry. I be fair.
I think this video is an example of how to establish boundaries around finances in religious settings. And it also shows the tactics that churches use to shame or guilt people into giving. Let's start here.
I be fair.
Well, we're not looking for you to give
I
all
put
your
$20
money.
a week. And then sometimes I feel good. I have
$20 a week is like giving a dollar.
The church member shares with the pastor a boundary that he sets in his giving, $20 a week and more if he feels led. But then he's interrupted by the pastor who shames him by saying giving $20 is like giving $1. You should never feel shame for how much you can give if you decide to give at all. But let's continue.
Can I say something? Is that your 10%?
You earn. That's my business. That's what it is.
The church member sets another clear boundary. It is not your business how much I make. You are not obligated to tell the church how much you make. Churches often demand a level of transparency they don't give their members. I know churches that would collect pay stubs and W-2s to make sure people are giving their 10%, but they never collect your debts or your bills to make sure you have enough to live, let alone give 10% of that income to the church. Which to me begs the question, why do some churches want you to rely on faith to pay your bills while they collect your money to pay theirs? Back to the video.
I'm not gonna let y'all attack me.
Well, we know.
I know robbery. You ain't gonna rob me, and I'm agreeing to it.
Well, let's talk about robbery. In the book of Malachi, it talks about, will a man rob God? He said, yea, ye have robbed me in your tithe and offering.
He got hit with the proof text that I saw on every church envelope growing up. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me in tithes and in offerings. The pastor conveniently leaves out the rest of the scripture because it would have pointed to the roots of tithing, which have nothing to do with Christianity or money. This is called a proof text, and it's the kind of spiritual manipulation that can lead to financial abuse.
That's what robbery is.
Man, let me tell you something. I really don't even believe in the 10%. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I think that was man-made. You feel me?
Pausing here to say it's recorded that tithing money to the church became widespread in the 8th century after the Roman Emperor Charlemagne made tithing income to the church a civil law. So the practice of church members paying 10% of their income to the church is 100% a man-made construct. He's not wrong.
Let me share this with you because I'm not going to go back and forth with you about
And I'm not neither.
some money because the church is well taken care of before you came. We're trying to allow you to be blessed because the blessings of the Lord, according
Bless,
to
giving my money away, Pastor ain't gonna bless me.
That pastor gave another example of spiritual manipulation. We don't need your money. We're just trying to make sure you get blessed. That is what Creflo Dollar did in the same message where he supposedly renounced tithing. The language is a bit different. There's an emphasis on grace, and he's not using the word tithe, but the overall message is still the same. If you want to be blessed and taken care of by God, you have to give, even if you can't and even if it hurts.
There's coming a time real soon where you're going to need somebody like God to take care of you because ain't nobody else going to be around to take care of you. And I'm just trying to show you how to get taken care of, and I'm trying to show you how to get your bag when you need it.
Back to the video.
When people don't tithe, normally they'll end up being sick. They'll take it to the doctor. They'll take it to the dentist.
You gonna get it some way. Somewhere. Car breakdown. Hospital.
More spiritual manipulation. The pastor used everyday life circumstances that occur as proof that God punishes those who don't tithe. God gonna get it back somehow is the narrative. The issue with this is things like this happen in minority communities all the time, whether they tithe or not. I grew up in a tithing household. I'm a living witness. And what more often happens is that you can't afford to pay for those unexpected expenses because you gave that money to the church. As we get to the end of the video, we see the issue that led to this conversation even happening.
You just want to change.
Exactly. And everybody walking around acting like there's no change to be given. I wanted my change, yes. I wasn't finna put no whole $100 in there. I ain't got but $100 left.
Hey, we don't get change back.
I know it. Y'all look like y'all don't get change.
All because they refuse to give this man his change. But then when he stops giving, it becomes an issue. You see what I'm saying? This video is not to criticize anyone who gives to the church. It is to equip you with the information to set boundaries around your finances and to avoid spiritual manipulation and financial abuse in church settings. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, and as always, like and follow for more content.
So that was an interesting video. Here's my feeling on it. If God comes down and asks for my money, I'm giving it out to him because it all does belong. But God does not need our money to operate. I feel like you have to, the Bible says to be a cheerful giver and you give what you can. I mean, the 10% thing, we know that has been misquoted. You should not go in debt to your church, in my opinion. But, churches do have to run. And if you are a member participating in all the activities and everything in your church, yes, you should give something. Not saying that you should give your whole check, but, this will be something that'll be debated till the end of time. I think just the way that there is definitely have been manipulation in some churches on tithing and things like that. But, you give what you can. God knows your heart at the end of the day. Does God need our money? No. Do the churches need our money to operate? Yes. So, just depends on what you feel led to give. So, that's my 2 cents on that. Let's go to the next one.
Does The Rock say he's clean? He has implied it pretty heavily.
There's not a fucking chance in hell he's clean.
No.
Not a chance in hell. As big as The Rock is, at 50...
I feel like you're in better form than you were in your 20s. Like, it's just fucking obvious.
Like that... Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's so massive, and he's so different than he was when he was 30.
So that's an interesting take that he's calling The Rock out on using roids. Kind of messed up, but I mean, he might be. Who knows? I mean, who cares? I mean, he's not in any sport, so I can see if he was competing in any sport. But if he wants to roid it out, let The Rock roid it out. Let's go to the next one. In Moore County, 38,000 people are still without power for the third day in a row after a targeted attack on two of the electrical substations. Let's take a listen to what they're talking about here.
North Carolina, tonight, tens of thousands of residents are left in the dark for a third straight night. How did you guys stay warm?
A lot of blankets. A lot of blankets.
The work of at least one criminal vandal, officials say, who intentionally targeted the county's electrical system.
What happened here Saturday night was a criminal attack.
The FBI says it's investigating willful damage after officials say at least one gunman broke through gates, accessing two Duke Energy substations, and started shooting. Enough damage to knock out power to more than 45,000 customers, the majority of them still in the dark.
This was not no random act. This was something targeted. The folks that done this knew exactly what they were doing. So, and that's scary.
Tonight, the county is under a state of emergency with mandatory curfew at 9 p.m. Schools closed. One of the area's main hospitals forced to operate on a backup generator. Businesses, roads, and busy intersections all in the dark. How dangerous is this situation?
It's very dangerous. We've had several accidents involved already due to power outages. We had some shots fired. We had robbery attempts.
Duke Energy would not detail security measures around the substations, but says they do meet industry requirements. Are these energy stations secure enough?
You know, we have robust security measures and requirements as an electric utility. We're regulated. So we do look for opportunities of how we can improve that process, things that we can do, and we'll take learnings from this.
As temperatures dip into the low 40s, for many, this grocery store, one of the few with power, is the only refuge.
It's cold, and I come over here a couple of times a day to get some hot food.
Just to get warm?
Yeah. We have no heat. We have no cooking facilities. We have none of that.
How are you getting by?
Barely.
So, Blaine, what are investigators saying about a possible motive in this attack?
Well, Lester, so far they say there is no motive and no suspects, but they say they're not ruling anything out, including a possible connection to that drag show that took place over the weekend in the area, which was already facing protests.
So
take a spot.
It's interesting that they won't say. I don't know if they're still investigating it, but the theory is that it may have been shut down due to the drag performance, which is unfortunate because so many people are suffering due to this. Just like a simple protest could have been fine, I would have felt like. Yeah, and as far as security at substations and even water, as a former water employee, there is no security. Like, there's just an alarm. So, I don't know. They really need to look into this, because if this is a trend, and I also believe it could be somebody that used to work there. What do you guys think? Yeah, it's kind of weird that they're not outright saying that it's due to someone. You know, they don't want to say it was due to shutting down the drag show, but it's kind of like they were out there at the same time, and that's what was going on. So, interesting. So a teenager in Raleigh had to jump from a Lyft driver because she was feeling unsafe. Let's listen to this story.
Well, a teenager in Raleigh got into a Lyft after work. She says she didn't feel safe and had to jump out of the car while it was moving. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. She ended up in the hospital that night with blood on her face, cuts all over her body. These photos show the extent of her injuries. And tonight, we're hearing her story.
Let's bring in WR's Leslie Moreno. She joins us live from where it happened. Leslie, you spoke to this teenager. What did she tell you about this?
Gerald, Gerald, she says the driver was asking her uncomfortable questions. She immediately felt something was wrong and jumped out of that moving vehicle right here on Fox Road in Raleigh. The 16-year-old Isaiah Bowden says the driver kept spraying something inside the car. After the fourth spray, she felt sleepy, and that's when she started thinking of a way out. She says she tried opening the door, but it was locked. She cried and yelled, but the driver wouldn't let her out. She finally got the door open and jumped. She woke up in the hospital, injuries to her face, arms, back, and legs.
If I didn't, then I would have I don't think that I would have made it back home. And that's exactly why I did that, because I felt like, if I have something in my body telling me to go, I'm going to go. So I definitely feel like that saved my life.
We did reach out to Lyft. A spokesperson says the driver was removed from the app. The victim says the driver was the one that called police. She says he acted like nothing happened. Lyft says they have been in touch with the family for support, and they are ready to assist police. We also reached out to Raleigh Police. They tell us they are looking into this incident. And within the last 30 minutes, I also spoke with another woman who says she also had a very similar uncomfortable experience with the same driver. We'll have more on this tonight at 10 and 11. Gerald.
Okay, we look forward to that report. Leslie Moreno live in Raleigh. Thank you, Leslie.
So be safe out here, because these drivers are still doing some weird stuff. Hopefully they get this guy, since he has more than one victim. Be safe out here, guys.
If anybody knows how to get in touch with Dr. Phil, show him this. Hey, Dr. Phil. I'm 22 years old and I've been dealing with the emotional stress of my mother. My mother is a crazy, schizophrenic, bipolar bitch, and she always trying it on my motherfucking time. She shames me for being a gay black male, even though she's half white, half black, and thinks she's a white female. We got into a physical altercation because that bitch ran up and spit in my motherfucking face, and I don't regret the shit. If I could do anything different, I probably would call the police and get her ass locked up before she could get me locked up. She has 2 other children that ain't did shit with their life. I'm the only one that graduated and took my ass to college. I'm the only one that actually get money in the family, so I don't understand why the fuck she hate me so bad. But what I can tell you is why I hate that bitch. This bitch is telling me that my father is my father. And in all reality, we got a test did and it came back 0.0% positive. Now, her reasoning to the test is that he lied, faked the test, and sent in different swabs. But we all know that shit ain't true because we all wanted to know the truth. So get that tea for me. So if you really want to know the tea about why she don't like me, it's because I'm not afraid to wake up the fact that my mama got 3 different baby daddies by 3 different niggas and she's ashamed of it. Bitch, you're trying to protect your image, but you don't give a fuck about me or my feelings. Girl, tell me who my daddy is. Dr. Phil, help us.
He pretty much said a lot about his mama. Dang, mama, you was out here doing it like that. I wish him the best, poor guy. Yeah, his mama was doing the do. So, Neil deGrasse Tyson is like a respected science man, but he's kind of blowing my mind on something that I always kind of have a conspiracy about, and that's us living in a simulation. Let's see what he says, because this will answer a lot of my problems, but the bad part is I'll have to continue to play this simulation game.
I've been public on the fact that I'm waiting for someone to convince me that we don't live in a simulation. I've heard you say it. The arguments put forth have been quite convincing. Most of the best arguments are traceable to a guy named Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at the University of Oxford. Here's the argument. Our computing power is growing rapidly. We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video game. Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life forms, humans, so well that you can recreate every single neurosynaptic thought you could have, but now you're in the simulation on the computer. So, including the perception of free will.
So now you would have enough computing power to imbue the Sims inside of the program with all of the human traits that we possess now.
Correct. not only our human traits, but the world.
But the world.
The world itself.
Right.
And you don't have to have all the world existing there at all times. That might be an unrealistic amount of computing power. You just need
enough of the world that they see around them.
That they see around them.
Right.
So you want to start digging, and
that's so funny.
And haven't put the Earth there. There's a flag that goes up in the programmer, and they say, need more Earth. So they put Earth beneath you while you can keep digging.
Like the Truman Show.
For example. Or does Minecraft, you can build
Or
stuff.
Minecraft.
Right.
Oh, that is Minecraft.
Right, okay.
God, that guy's a brilliant genius. Okay.
So and we went to the moon. They said, okay, let's make sure the moon is there.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe that's why we can't travel faster than the speed of light, because if we could, we'd be able to get to another galaxy
before they could program
that galaxy. Dude. So much fun.
So the programmer put in that limit.
Put in the limit.
Because that's the fastest they can get.
We can't program fast enough. So we put in a limiter. The speed of light is a limiter so that you can't get to the next thing before we build it.
That's good. That's good, Chuck.
All right.
So let me finish it. So now that world evolves, and they develop computing power.
Right.
And they say, we want to play video games.
So now we're going to make a world.
So then they make a world, and they have sufficient computing power that they invent to create a whole universe within their computers.
Okay.
And then
they make a world.
And then they make a world all the way on down.
Right.
It could be hundreds, thousands, billions, infinite.
All right, so far this sounds like it still works.
That's fine. So now close your eyes, throw a dart. Which of these universes are you going to land in? The first one that's real, or the gazillion that are not, statistically?
Am I drinking when we're playing this darts game?
Because then you miss entirely
everything.
There's something called Bayesian statistics, where you're allowed to introduce information that you already have available to you, even if you didn't measure it to be true. So we establish the likelihood that one day we'll have the power to do this. And then that factors into these statistics.
Okay.
So there's 1 in a zillion, you're the real universe, and 999 zillion to 1 that
you're a simulation.
That convinced me. And I don't want to be convinced. I didn't like it, and I was just begging for somebody to give me an argument that was cogent enough to undermine that entire reasoning, and I just came across one. It's a good friend of mine, Rich Gott. He was a colleague of mine back when I was at Princeton.
All right.
Deep thinker, likes calculating the ends of things.
Nice.
With Bayesian statistics. He's heavily quoted in this book, The Doomsday Calculation, and William Poundstone is a smart guy unto himself. I am now convinced.
Now you're convinced.
Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
What do all those simulated universes have in common?
They're simulations.
They have the power to simulate themselves.
That's what I'm saying. They're simulations.
No, they have the power to simulate themselves.
Right. Okay. Yes.
That's what they all have in common.
Make a simulation.
They have that power.
Exactly.
To simulate themselves exactly. Do we have that power now?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Which means that we can't send ourselves into the future as a simulation.
Because we don't have that power yet.
So we can't continue the chain.
Wait, so either we are the real one,
right,
or we're the one in the chain that's still evolving to try to then make a simulation within their own world. So the odds of us being a simulation goes from a gazillion to 1, the likelihood.
It flips.
It flips. 50-50.
Wow.
And I'm good with that. That changes my life completely.
Yeah.
Are your kids going to say, Dad, it doesn't matter, we're in a simulation anyway? No, you got an argument. You have a rebuttal.
Exactly.
Now, a quick one.
I have to do my homework.
Maybe these simulators have a side activity where they like reminiscing about days before you could simulate. That would be us.
So now we're Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. We're Pong.
We're classic gameplay.
So maybe we're just entertainment, like a historical exercise.
Right.
That's possible, in principle. However, let's look at our own conduct with that regard.
Okay.
All right, think of a movie as a simulation. Ask yourself, how many movies have been made in a time before we ever knew how to make movies? Relative to movies made in the era where we know how to make movies. You can do the numbers. It's small. Yes,
sure.
the Spartacus, there's the OK Corral.
Three Musketeers.
Those exist.
That type of stuff.
Okay? If we are any measure of the incentives of creating simulations, which all we can do with movies at this point, they might have some historical thing, but there's way more interesting things and stories to tell in the era of simulations that exist post-simulation.
Yeah.
So even if there are some period pieces that we might be, still most of these would be universes made after they could simulate themselves.
Right.
If our movie-making habits are any indication of anything.
So the chances are we're not a little offshoot, like a little side project.
We could be, just statistically, it's
Probably
not likely.
not.
Because we're throwing darts.
Right.
And most of the stories they're going to simulate are going to be the ones that are in the era of the time they could simulate themselves.
So that still brings us back to we're probably either the first or we're on our way to being the next.
On our way to being the next. That's
Right.
correct. That's more likely than any other possibility here.
Wow.
I can now rest well at night.
So no simulation.
Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm real. I think you're real. I think we're good.
Well, real recognize real, so yes.
So, did that make any sense to you? No, me neither. I mean, hey, we either are or we aren't. You really didn't answer that. Thanks a lot. You didn't answer anything. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, yeah. Somebody has us in this crazy game of life. God, of course. But it's still wild. It's still freaking wild to me. Let's go to our next one.
Something I thought about this morning. Do y'all realize we can't own property in the United States of America? The reason I'm saying this is because I just got my property tax bill in on my house, and it went up again, just like it does every year. And even if my house was paid for, even if I didn't have a mortgage on my house, if I stop paying the property taxes, the government will come in and take my house and sell it for the taxes owed on it. Do y'all understand how asinine that is, how crazy that is? You can buy a house, but can never own it. You always have to pay taxes. Not only can we never own it, it's just another tax added to already federal income tax, state income tax, sales tax, Social Security tax. I mean, how many taxes do we have to pay? Our politicians are just taxing us to death. Y'all realize that we want our independence, our freedom, because of a T-tax. Our forefathers would not be happy with where we are today and what we're allowing to happen in our own country.
Yeah, taxes. We argue about a lot of things, but this is something that we should all be able to agree upon, that this is lame. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why do we pay 30-year mortgages only to not still own what we have? And why hasn't that not been changed? I think we stayed so distracted on so many other things when these are actual things that, like, if we put our heads together and work together, we could actually change, because everybody agrees on this when it comes to these silly taxes that we have. You know, obviously we do need some taxes for our roads and all that. I think like state tax and city tax is fine. Now you're talking about property tax. Like, it's like we're taxed beyond tax. And like he said, we really never own anything. So yeah, definitely need to have some changes on that prayerfully one day. Who knows?
If you had to pick one person to be the ambassador for the human race to meet aliens, who would it be? Ooh, this is good. I'd probably pick a Filipino dude. I'm really infatuated by Filipinos. They're happy, they're joyous. You know, they call them the smiling people somewhere on the internet. And every Filipino I meet, they're real gracious. They do a lot of senior care centers, hospice. Who else are you going to send out there, dude? You know what I'm saying? A drunk, somebody from Scotland, no, somebody on coke. You can't do any of that. You got to send somebody who is caring, I think.
You should say like The Rock.
Oh, you mean like a specific person? Manny Pacquiao?
So I was thinking about this. I was like, who could we send? And honestly, like, yeah, it'd probably be like The Rock, because he's massive. He's everybody kind of loves him, of all races and nationalities. So yeah, maybe The Rock would be a good representation. And I mean, other than him, I can't really think of anybody else, unless, I mean, if Rose Nyland from the Golden Girls, Betty White, I could send her. I would send someone that the aliens couldn't help but to love, and they weren't being intimidated by. So I probably would send Betty White, because she's harmless, versus The Rock is the big scary looking man. So yeah, probably wouldn't send The Rock actually. Let's get into another one.
What would you do if your son, like, he up a gun and try to take your life?
It depends how old he is. Shit.
He's 16 years old. Look, I'm going to paint the picture for you.
16, he dead. I don't care what picture it is.
Bro, chill, bro. Listen to what you're saying, bro.
Gone.
Listen to what you're saying, bro.
He pulled the gun on me. He a sophomore in high school. If he ain't got recess, he gets sit down.
Bro.
Honestly, I'd rather be me than somebody else on the streets. It's like he already going down the wrong path, man.
That's why you gotta be a man and take that L
And die?
and die for your son.
But
Hell
what?
no. I'd rather carry the casket.
He either gonna end up in
Honestly, he just gonna be a tattoo in Old English at the end of the day. R.I.P.
Hey,
Junior.
real talk.
That is a really crazy conversation, but I agree. I mean, if your son pulls a gun on you, he's got some serious mental issues. So you can either, one, disarm him, hopefully, and two, you can't die. I mean, then he'll be a menace to society because once you kill the parent, it's going downhill. This was a dark conversation, but yeah. Let's do one more.
My mom used to tell us when we went to my dad's house, like, you're going to your dad and your stepmother's home. That's also her home. You have to listen to her. You have to respect her. Like, no, she's not your mom, but that's her house. So if she tells you to do something, you need to listen to her. So we never, thought in our mind that we could disrespect our stepmom. But it was equally the same way. Do you know what I mean? And my mom never talked bad about my dad in front of us. And, now that I know all the stuff that he did, I'm like...
Damn, you protected him.
I think about that all the time.
Right.
I think about that all the time. I'm like... all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
So that's an interesting conversation. I think that mom is wise because when you badmouth the dad, it really doesn't get you anywhere. And it just makes you look like, you're bitter. So kudos to moms that just, don't, take the high road. Let your kids find out themselves if their dad, is a jerk. Like, don't be the one to do it for them. That is all I have for today, family. I have enjoyed chatting with you guys per usual. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. Hope you got some laughs out of this. I will definitely be back tomorrow with more hot topics and crazy stories. F is for Family is signing out. Toodles.